Benjamin, and I am here with Sarah Hassaine, and she is a diversity and inclusion leader here in the city of San Diego. And Sarah, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, on our conversation around Let's Talk Diversity, I want to be talking with you a little bit around a couple of different topics. But beforehand, would love to hear a little bit about you, who you are, and kind of what you're doing right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for providing the opportunity for these conversations. It's just so great to learn from one another and share our experiences. I actually was born in the Midwest and grew up in San Diego, California. I always look different than my classmates. I am ethnically North African, I'm Muslim, and so I always kind of had that narrative of feeling different and being different. And as I got older, I got engaged in a lot of interfaith work, cross-cultural building work. And so as I built my career, I always gravitated back into the community building, community service space. And as diversity and inclusion it started getting more traction and interest by companies about 5 years ago. That's when I realized that was my calling. That's where I needed to be. And I, for the last 4 years, have been working in the inclusion and diversity space, building programs, championing initiatives, policies in tech companies. And it's been so rewarding and meaningful.
Wow, you've had such an impressive background. Well, we're so excited to talk with you today again around a couple of different topics. And one of the topics that, as you and I have developed a friendship and we're colleagues, that we've had some great conversations around is allyship. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about allyship and maybe either programs you've worked with or you've worked on, or what would you consider to be what makes a strong allyship program?
Yeah, allyship, I think, is integral for not only an affinity group's success, but for a company's engagement and even their own financial success. The more employees are engaged and support one another, the better the morale, the better productivity, the better innovation. Allyship, to me, what I've seen and where I've seen it work best is with the affinity groups, or as we like to say, employee resource groups, ERGs. So for the purpose of this, I'll just say ERGs. When they come together and they find synergy with one another and with their initiatives. And so if we're celebrating Pride in June, having other ERGs come in and show that they are supporting is really important. The other element of allyship that I think is critical to success is the executive and support from the top. And so having leaders, managers and above, lean in, forward emails about the events, come into the events, talk about it, show their sponsorship and championing. That goes a long way. Not only does that spread the word, but it also shows that they care about the community and they care about the initiatives at hand.
Wow. So for you, the support piece is a huge component of allyship.
Yeah, the more you find that support, the more I think that others around will lean in and start asking questions. Oh, I saw so-and-so is an ally. They're a mentor. They're part of this program, or they actually went and supported this talk. And I think that piques curiosity. And it also gives people permission to actually engage as well when they see others around them being allies.
Wow. What would you say to a diversity leader who's looking to start an allyship program? What would you say would be some key fundamental things they need to be thinking about?
No, I think it's really important to start by listening. I think if you want to start an allyship, going to all the communities, listening to what their goals are, their priorities, their needs, their concerns, and then from there, trying to find ways to build those bridges and build those connection points are so important. A lot of times employees will reach out and say that they don't know how to get involved. They're not sure. They are wavering on, is it going to be awkward if I attend? Is it awkward if I show up as an ally? Whereas the groups are looking for that. And so trying to show that it's a comfortable, welcoming space is so important, and exploring ways and talk tracks on how to do that. So I think it's really important first, to your question, to start off by listening and understanding, and then to kind of create the messaging that shows that it's a really welcome and open and comfortable space.
Wow. Wow. In your time in diversity and inclusion, had there been areas or moments where you felt like were pitfalls, something that you learned from, that maybe you would kind of encourage someone to maybe reconsider or consider carefully?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to get stakeholders on board with your mission and vision, and also to have them really understand what inclusion looks like and the importance of it. Definitely hit a lot of challenges with different departments who push back, say no, don't prioritize your requests, and that's been really hard. And going back to the drawing board and finding out, okay, they're not understanding where I'm coming from. How do I reframe this? How do I make this a value to them? And I think always trying to put myself in my stakeholders' shoes and understanding, why are they deprioritizing this? How can I make inclusion meet their business need and their objective? And so I have had to go back to the drawing board numerous times, and it might take longer than I would have liked or my team would have liked. And in the end, you do find a common ground. But, it goes back to really understanding the business value of D&I for different stakeholders.
Wow. I want to twist our conversation or kind of redirect our conversation a little bit around culture transformation. I know you have done or had some great opportunities. I've sat on a panel discussion with you. And so would love to hear, what advice would you give to a diversity leader who is looking to do culture transformation? What would you say are some key important elements that they need to be thinking about?
Run. No, I'm kidding. Culture transformation is the best. I'm all about culture transformation. But culture takes time. And, like Peter Drucker says, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So number one, don't ever underestimate the value of culture. That will actually bleed into the productivity, bleed into the ideation. So I think taking a step back and educating yourself on the different cultures at play within your company or your team is so important, and understanding what people need and what's important to them. And you're going to be able to kind of sit back and craft the culture within your team or company based off the needs and priorities and values of those around you. It's really important. But number two to that is also getting the leadership buy-in around the culture transformation. No transformation or growth is going to come without that support. Going back to your question earlier about allyship, you need the allyship of leaders, and you need them to be bought in so that in their all hands meetings or in their talk tracks and emails, they're also championing that transformation.
Wow. Wow. Any last thoughts that you would give with encouraging this generation of diversity leaders who are either stepping into this space or who are championing this work?
It's a time we see a lot. We talk a lot about courage and being bold and leaning in. And I can't stress, especially now with everything that's happening, it's so important to actually exercise that courage and don't be afraid to take action. And engage people around you that may not have engaged in the past, and not give up. I think the one thing that it is hard for practitioners like you yourself and I, how slow diversity and inclusion can take, and not giving up and being patient. And I think the second element is also self-care. When we read the news every day and you're dealing with a lot of roadblocks at work, it can be very draining. And sometimes just checking in with yourself and reminding yourself why you're doing what you're doing and the value that you bring to your employees and the people you work for is really important.
Sarah, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
A lot of amazing insight. You are an incredible diversity leader. And I'm so excited to have you in my network. Thank you for sharing with everyone. We're going to put this out there, and everyone, thank you for listening in. And again, if you're not connected to Sarah on LinkedIn, please connect with her on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
Again, Sarah.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Take care. Thanks.
All right. I'll see you later.
Bye.